All right, y'all. I was slipping a little bit, man. Sometimes I get a little over ambitious when it comes to the amount of content that I want to put out, man. But I don't ever want to sacrifice quality for quantity. And so it took me a little longer to get to this Hey Alchemy episode 2. But I got some great questions. I want to get right into it because I know I'm finna ramble. That's how I do. But let's get into this.
Hey Alchemy, this is Miko from Oakland, California, currently living in Fresno, California. I have a question about Steve Kerr's demeanor. Sometimes it seems to me that he comes across as too friendly, too concerned with trying to placate everybody, apologizing for dunks and smiling with referees and joking. And when he does blow up, it's not taken as seriously. It's almost comical, at least to me, because it looks so over the top. Do you think that, or maybe it's too late for him, but do you think that if he put more of Coach Pop edge on his sideline demeanor, he would get a little bit more, he or the Warriors basically, would get a little bit more respect from the refs? Because I feel like there is a certain level of fear that they have of Pop. So they'll go far, but they'll only go so far. And I don't feel like they have that same, concern when it comes to Steve Kerr. And Mike Brown's grinning ass, I love him, but he just smiles from ear to ear every time you look at him. So if you're gonna, do some shit, you would do it to that side of the ball, because there's really no repercussions. He might break, Kerr might break a clipboard, once a season, but you know what I mean? So what do you think?
That's a good question, Miko. I think you nailed it when you said, is it too late? Because, Steve Kerr, these are grown men, man. And Steve Kerr, I know he's in his 50s, his early 50s, right? You are who you are. And I think the biggest problem, or one of the biggest issues you could have as a coach, really in life, man, I'm about to get on some preaching stuff, but you've got to be you, right? And so Kerr isn't Pop. No one's Pop. That's why Pop is Pop, right? And so I think it would be disingenuous for him to try to intimidate referees more than he does. Now, let's not get it twisted. I don't know if you know the infamous story of him throwing hands with Michael Jordan his rookie year in Chicago and, earning that respect as a 6'1" white dude in the NBA, right? So there is a level of toughness to Kerr. I think it is genuine when he does explode. He doesn't do it as often. I think he's in control, though. So, don't get it twisted. You're right. There is a level of where it's like, we're getting bad calls or he's frustrated. I want out of the game. And all veteran coaches do that. But I know what you're getting at with Mike Brown, right? Kind of juking and jiving, man. And you're right, he's likable, but he's not going to get on anybody about anything. I think Ron Adams, the defensive specialist, is really the OG of the team. Now, I think he says a lot without saying anything at all. And I think when guys make mistakes in their rotations, or there's a mistake on the court, I think that's who they kind of feel bad about letting down most of all. But we don't have that vocal guy on the coaching staff, and that's why it kind of falls to Draymond and Iguodala. The vets are the guys that could kind of do that at times, and you see them you see Draymond in particular get out of hand. What I would like to see is Kerr, if he's going to borrow anything from Pop, I would like to see him pull out Steph or pull out KD real quick when they have a lack of focus, because he kind of lets them ride it out and he gives them the superstar treatment, as most coaches do. But what sets Pop apart is, if you pay attention, if Kawhi blows an assignment early in the game, he's getting yanked. He's like at the Apollo with the hook, and it doesn't matter who you are, he holds them all accountable. And I think that that's something very unique that he does that I'd like to see Kerr incorporate with the Warriors. But as far as the intimidation or the on the sidelines with the referees, you either got it or you don't, right? You're either a bully or you're not. And Pop, he's just right. He looks like a killer, man. So I don't think Kerr has that. I think that would be disingenuous. He is who he is. But that's a great question, Miko. So I know you had another one, but let's see how long this goes. Maybe I'll hit that at the end of this segment. Let's get into question number 2.
Your Alchemy, great shit. Whatever you're doing, just keep it up. Much love from India. The Warriors, they normally get a big lead and then they slowly lose it to some really bad teams, or they give a big lead to the other team and they have to play from behind. They do win most of the games, but do you think this is going to be a problem when they start playing like these better teams like the Houston Rockets, the Spurs, where the other team is just going to take advantage of it? And also, do you think the way that Lonzo has been playing has been affecting the other teammates, as there may be some chemistry issues between them, like them not giving Lonzo the ball, them not trusting Lonzo? What are your thoughts on this?
Um, as far as the blowing or giving huge leads, it's done subconsciously, it's done on purpose, right? It's self-sabotage because they are bored. Now, there's an aspect of it, I believe, where they have, as a team, as a collective, decided we are going to pace ourselves. And that can be macro or micro, right? And in the micro, it could be within a game, right? Like, we're not going to go hard until the second half, right? And we've seen that. And they've kind of played with that, but I think it's because they're bored. It's like I know when I'm playing with some younger kids, when I'm coaching, I'll play around with them. Let's say we're playing 21. That's a game that kids love to play. And I'll mess around with them, and let them kind of get a lead, let them get 12, 15 points before I really start scoring. And sometimes it's too late. Sometimes I let them catch fire and they end up winning the game. But I do it kind of just out of boredom to make the game more interesting for myself. But you're absolutely right. When there's teams where the talent gap isn't as great, a Houston, a San Antonio, you definitely are playing with fire moving forward. But I think there's also a point. I was thinking about it, like doing the math, where if, let's say, they took the first quarter off of every game, which is not that far-fetched, right? That's 82 quarters, right? And then you divide that into 4, and right, so that's like 20 games off throughout the season. If you were doing the math like that, I'm not saying that's what they're doing. It was just hypothetically. I think there is some pacing going on, as well as just boredom, and it's self-sabotage just to make things interesting. And you're right, they're going to play with fire. As far as Lonzo goes, if you've checked my Lonzo Ball video, is about the scuffle and that thing. That's definitely happening. And if you watch Laker games, Jordan Clarkson is the number one guy where you could see his attitude, like, yo, I'm way better than this dude. He gets all the hype. He's cutting into my minutes. I believe he's like headed towards a contract year. Not quite yet. He got a little bargain deal. But anyway, they definitely feel some type of way about Lonzo. I think he's likable, maybe off the court, but it's just like anywhere else. If you're playing pickup ball somewhere and a dude cannot hit the broadside of a barn, are you really trying to swing it to him for an important basket? No. So that is a problem. I don't want to talk too much about Lonzo. It's just it's become too much. We'll see, right? The verdict's still out. All right, let's move on to the next question.
Hey Alchemy, hello from China. Thank you for your great insight comments on the Warriors. Although most of us in China don't have access to YouTube, not to mention watching the video. Recently, a lot of Chinese Warrior fans are pretty worried about Steph's struggle on offense, not just his shooting, but also his decision making, his play style. I mean, sometimes he seems to be preferring passing to shooting, but when he really decides to pass the ball instead of shooting, he makes some lousy turnovers. Should he be less hesitated to shoot like he was in the 2015 and 2016 season, or should he do something else? Also, lots of fans are blaming Coach Kerr for this. They think he was too obsessed with off-ball strategies since last season, like making Draymond stand at the top of the arc, holding the ball for too long, and play too little iso ball and pick and rolls, which may have suppressed Steph from being, Steph. What do you think? Any comments on this? Oh, by the way, I'm on Coach Kerr's side. Thank you.
Okay, first off, I want to ask, because I didn't know. I know that there are some countries where YouTube is not accessible. So let me know a platform, because I know there are a ton of Chinese Warrior fans. What platform are you guys able to have access to? Because I may be able to upload videos to a different platform as well. As far as the question goes, this was the sacrifice of bringing Kevin Durant into this Warriors team, right? And I think people that don't play the game don't quite fully appreciate rhythm and amount of shots you get. And I'll use Damian Lillard as a good example, where Lillard puts up monster numbers. Everybody loves Damian, his playing style, just his personality, right? But he kind of gets as many shots as he wants all the time. He never has to think about, he doesn't really involve other guys, man. And so that enables him to have these monster numbers in these shots. And it's much easier to do that. If you gave that opportunity to some other guards in the league, they could probably replicate what Damian Lillard does. And if you did it for Steph, if Steph was like on the Trailblazers or a team with less talent and you were just like, Steph, just full green light, go, he would put up monster numbers, Westbrook type numbers from last season. But this is a marathon, not a sprint. And Steph realizes this, being an NBA baby and having, and just being a smart guy. This is the sacrifice, right? And his numbers aren't going to be as godly, and he's not going to shoot as good because he's not going to have that rhythm and that ultra green light all the time, but his career's going to be longer and his success, the accolades of the team are going to be greater. So it's a sacrifice. And it's hard. It's hard to, if he hasn't shot, I don't care, you are the best shooter in the world. It's hard to get it, all of a sudden flip the switch, get aggressive and be in rhythm. It doesn't matter who you are. And that's kind of what happens. I do think that Kerr kind of overthinks things sometimes offensively. And you see some of these turnovers that teams with our motion offense, everybody's familiar with it now, and down the stretch late in games, they're going to jump those passing lanes. The league now is reconfiguring and designed to beat the Warriors. And so they have all these long switchable defenders and they're jumping the motion passes. So the high pick and roll, don't reinvent the wheel, right? High pick and roll late in games, I think should just be a staple pretty much in all offenses in the NBA. It's your guys, mano a mano, we're going to put the ball in our best players' hands, and that's what it's become. Maybe it's not creative, but that's what it is. Let's move on to the next question. Let me know about the platform in China, though, because I am curious about that. Let's go.
Hey, Alchemy. Just watched your first episode on YouTube and thought it was amazing. I just wanted to know who you thought would be the next up-and-coming team to be a threat in the Western Conference and in the Eastern Conference. Thank you.
Appreciate the love, Khalil. I think Philadelphia is the obvious answer. I just got done watching them play the Pelicans, Ben Simmons, and I'm real big on the body language and all that. This new hat is fresh, but it's kind of, I don't know, I got to readjust the snap. He dunked on DeMarcus Cousins early in the game. Maybe I'll find the clip here for you. And then he stared him down. And I just love that type of stuff. The kid's got the swagger, man. He's got the swagger. Now, will Markelle Fultz pan out? That will be a huge question. They just got Trevor Booker, and he was huge for them. So I think that's the obvious answer, right? In the East. In the West, it's not so clear. I still feel like the Lakers are a threat as far as the young up-and-coming team because there's not a lot of them right now. Minnesota, you could put them there, but they have a mixture of vets. I don't think they're as up and coming. Believe it or not, I feel like Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns are kind of closer to being finished products. That sounds silly at their age, but they've played a lot of basketball. I'm not talking, we love to look at guys' age. Oh, he's 24 years old. He's 23 years old. He's going to get so much better. How much basketball is he playing? Right? So their age is kind of fooling you a little bit. They've played a lot of basketball. They've been in the NBA a while. I don't think they're going to take like huge leaps. So Minnesota, more of a finished product than I think people realize. The Lakers, why I say that is Ingram's coming along, the elite first step. But as disappointing as Ball has been, Kuzma is a bucket getter, right? He's going to be a fringe all-star type of player probably. And then let's be honest here. Look at what's happening in OKC. It really looks like they're going to get Paul George, right? And so I do think it's the Lakers in Philadelphia as far as young up-and-coming teams. I really like Donovan Mitchell in Utah, but can they ever trade? They're going to have to do it through the draft. Clearly, no one's going to go to Utah willingly, but they have some nice pieces if what's the Australian kid can stay healthy. Exum, along with Mitchell, that would be a dynamic backcourt along with Rudy Gay to anchor the middle. All right, let's see here. I got one more. I believe it's from my girl from Oakland again. Let's get one more in here before the 15-minute mark.
So I have a question about this complacency, or some people call it fat cat-itis, or lack of hunger that multiple title winning championship teams can have. And sometimes it seems like we see it in the first half of the game or whatever. do you think that one way to combat that would be to constantly or consistently interject new hungry energy in with the time-tested lineups? So meaning that every lineup would have somebody new in it. So there wouldn't be the same starting five. So if it had to, just for example, if Zaza was the one who was selected to not start, then, you would interject Jordan Bell because he brings the energy and brings a little bit more passion, blah, blah, blah. Or if it wasn't him, then you would interject, somebody like maybe somebody basically who has not gotten a chip yet. So it could be Caspi, it could be Nick Young, it could be whoever, and whoever's high energy, like Looney is just awesome right now. So, but he's got a chip, but he still has that extra reason to perform, and that energy that they bring, like as a energy cushion, an energy safety net. Or am I just overthinking it and it'll wear off once playoff time hits and there's a whole new goal at stake?
All right. Well, here's the thing with athletes, and they're creatures of habit, routine, and there is an absolute pecking order. How you manage egos in the NBA is, guys, what happens is they have to understand their roles. Now, on bad teams, they don't, and that's in part why they're bad, right? But with a championship team, everybody kind of understands their roles and their minutes. That's why, so you don't blow their expectations, right? And so if the problem with jumping people in and out of the lineup, then feelings get caught. Because guys don't know what to expect. So that's a way of balancing the egos. Like, all right, this is your defined role. Like Looney doesn't expect to play very much right now. But if he starts getting popped into the lineup and he's doing well and it's up in the air, then he might expect to get jumped back into the lineup and then he's not. And then, guys catch feelings. So that's the problem with that. I think one of the ways, and I'm going to go ahead and suggest it. I don't care, man. I think that Kerr early in the season was tweaking with lineups and doing some strange things at the end of games because he low-key wanted to lose the game. How do you get their attention again as a coach and make that, find that hunger again? You lose some games. Unfortunately, as Warrior fans, you don't want to hear that, but that's kind of like really the only way when you've got to the status of this young dynasty that the Warriors have built is you got to take some L's or have some struggles to dial back in and regain some focus. And I think Kerr was kind of low-key playing with that in some of these early games. I think we've moved away from that now, especially with the chef out. Let's see here. I have one more question. It was a video, so I didn't have it on my soundboard.
Hey, Alchemy. Loving your commentary and your sense of humor and analysis. I have a question about Curry's style and playmaking style. So Draymond, after the game with Magic in which Curry was out, Draymond said something like, well, without Steph, the plays are all called and there's a lot more structure to the gameplay. Do you have any words on Steph's improvisational style and kind of its strengths and vulnerabilities? Because it's kind of easy to imagine, they keep the defense on their toes, but it comes at a really high price. And because the team needs to be very sensitive and aware of what's happening and communicate and so on. And do you see any ways in which that style has been cracked, maybe by the Cavs in the finals? I think there was a game in which Steph really couldn't score and just couldn't get the ball out. Any thoughts on the difference between the structured and unstructured game style and kind of how you see it, and if you've noticed it yourself. All right, thanks.
And so that again, good question. That's what I'm always going to say. But I'm only picking the good questions, so they're all good questions. I guess I got to stop saying that. But I like the video. Shout out, because then it takes y'all don't want to look at my face the whole time. So shout out for the video. Steph Curry, I think it benefits him greatly. One, because of his handle, and again, when I was talking about rhythm and finding his shot, I think the improvisational damn, you know me with the pronunciations, his freestyle, his free-flowing offense, it benefits him greatly. But for other players, it hurts them. Like take a Klay Thompson, for example. I think he benefits greatly from a structured offense. And so that's why you notice, inbound plays and in and out of quarters, they like to run stuff for Klay just to get him some of that structured offense, because most of the time it's based off Steph's freestyle, right? Now, KD, you could just throw everything out the window. You're seeing it right now. He's such a freak of nature. And you remember last Christmas after that blown game in Cleveland, he was like, don't worry about me, Steph. I'm going to get mine regardless. And it's really true. KD, with his size and skill level, it really doesn't matter. You can freestyle, you can run plays, he's going to get buckets. So that's the luxury of having Durant. But Draymond, Iguodala, Klay Thompson, guys that like to anticipate and think out there more, structured plays benefit them greatly because it enables them to anticipate and just gives them a better rhythm, knowing when they're going to get their shot. But you take a guy like JaVale McGee, who is clearly not a thinker out there, when you let it go and flow and freestyle, he benefits from that because he doesn't have to think as much. Steph, obviously a high IQ player, but it's more about the shot and the flow of his shot and his rhythm. So I think it's give and take, but I do think that down the stretch, Steph, that's why you do see the turnovers, because he's allowed to freestyle so much. You're good at what you do, right? And he doesn't run a structured offense that much, and he never really has, so he's not as good as it. And that's what you're seeing right now with him out in the offense. You're seeing less turnovers because it's more structured, and KD is so big, you can't really trap him. But that said, you've got to let him freestyle. It's when do you let him do it? It's finding the balance. And the thing with balance is you never find a balance, right? A balancing is dynamic. It's like if you think of something on a tightrope, you're never like, oh, I'm balanced and you're good, right? You're constantly balancing. So it's never going to be found. You're balancing it. It's dynamic between the structure and the freestyle. But that's a great question. Like, again, all of these are. Shout out for the video. I appreciate all the questions. Again, send me video or audio questions to the email. If it's a time-sensitive question, like if it's about a game tonight, I'm not probably going to get to it because I won't get this video out for 2 weeks. It'll be irrelevant. So think of bigger, broader questions. I appreciate all the love. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.